My Patreon member's current terminal subclade is I-PH347, which dates approximately to 1045 CE, according to family tree DNA age estimates. He can trace his earliest known patrilineal ancestor to the country of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And this subclade, I-PH347, has 4 total testers. And 2 out of the 3 patrilineal lines claim Bosnia and Herzegovina for the earliest known patrilineal countries of origin. So I feel that this subclade originated in that country at that time. In the following map, you can see where Bosnia and Herzegovina is located in Europe. The third patrilineal line for this branch claims Cosenza, Italy, for their earliest known patrilineal location. And this town is located in the very southern tip of Italy. At the time that I-PH347 is theorized to have originated, both Bosnia and Herzegovina and Cosenza, Italy, were part of the Byzantine Empire. Now, I'm not sure why this one patrilineal line was motivated to emigrate from Bosnia and Herzegovina to Cosenza, Italy during that time period, but perhaps it had something to do with the schism between the Orthodox and Catholic churches in the year 1054 CE. Let us now jump back to the Bronze Age for my Patreon member's patrilineal line. He is positive for major subclade IPR683, which has a strong correlation with many downstream branches with East Germanic tribes. Recently, a new preprint was released titled Steppe Ancestry in Western Eurasia and the Spread of the Germanic Languages. To quote the preprint, quote, "We find the wheelbark population from Poland to be primarily of Eastern Scandinavian ancestry, supporting a Swedish origin for East Germanic groups," end quote. So I feel that during the Bronze Age, my Patreon members' forefathers were living in Sweden. Unfortunately, my Patreon member does not have any close ancient DNA connections. His closest connections connect to him with the IBY316 branch, which dates to the end of the Bronze Age and the beginning of the Iron Age. That being said, though, I am going to include them in this video because I feel that they help support the narrative of an East Germanic correlation for my Patreon members' forefathers. The first connection comes from the 2018 study, Understanding 6th Century Barbarian Social Organization and Migration Through Paleogenomics. In the family tree DNA database, he is labeled Colegno63. He lived sometime between 580 and 630 CE and was discovered in Colegno, Piedmont, Italy. As you can see in Figure A from the study, Colegno is located in northwestern Italy and it is associated with the Lombard cultural group. That being said, though, I feel that Colegno 63 had a Gothic origin originally before being absorbed into the Lombard cultural group. In Figure C from the study, out of all the individuals that were DNA tested from the cemetery, he was the only one that tested positive for haplogroup I1. In the supplemental information from the recently released preprint, he was assigned to the Baltic genetic cluster. To quote the recently released preprint, quote, "This cline includes populations related to the spread of Slavic populations in Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic, and are to be related to the Baltic Bronze Age ancestry originating in Northeast Europe," end quote. To quote the 2018 study, quote, "In 568 CE, the Longobarд king Alboin led an ethnically mixed population into Italy, where they established a kingdom covering much of the country until 774 CE," end quote. My personal opinion why Colegno 63 was assigned to the Baltic Slavic genetic cluster is most likely due to his patrilineal forefathers originating in the region of Pannonia, where his Gothic ancestors would have mixed with Slavic tribes prior to joining King Alboin's Lombard army marching westward into Italy. The next ancient DNA connection comes from the 2022 study, The Genetic History of the Southern Arc, a bridge between West Asia and Europe. The sample is labeled Zaytin-Liata 14832 in the family tree DNA database. He lives sometime between 600 and 1000 CE. He was discovered in Zaytin-Liata, Erdik, Turkey. To quote the supplemental information from the study, quote, Zaytin-Liata, one of the Marmara Sea Islands, end quote. In the following map from the study, you can see the location of the Marmara Sea Islands in northwestern Turkey. As you can see in the following map, the East Goths had a genetic influence in modern-day Turkey. So even though my Patreon members' patrilineal connections to these two ancient DNA samples most likely occurred in Sweden during the end of the Bronze Age, I find it quite interesting that both samples can possibly be correlated with Gothic migrations, especially when we take into consideration that the region where modern-day Bosnia and Herzegovina is located was also settled by the Goths. That being said, though, there is quite a large time gap of around 1700 years of missing subclade data between his early Iron Age branch, I-Z63 and its current terminal subclade. So any theory regarding the migrations of his patrilineal forefathers is going to be quite speculative. His parent branch, dating to the early Iron Age, does have a modern tester claiming Sweden for the earliest known patrilineal country of origin. So I feel it's quite probable that his patrilineal forefathers were still in that general region during that time period. So even though I'm leaning towards a Gothic migration into Bosnia and Herzegovina prior to his current terminal subclade dating to 1045 CE, I can also see a scenario where there might have been a direct migration from Sweden to the Byzantine Empire with the Varangians. That being said, though, the Goths were known to have had a much larger genetic impact in the Byzantine Empire region than the Varangians, so all things being equal, I would say this scenario is less likely. I feel the clues to solving this mystery might lie within his STR data. He has Y67 and Y37 matches that claim the countries of Romania and Greece for their earliest known patrilineal countries of origin. Should they upgrade to Big Y700 and end up matching him sometime within the time frame of around 100 CE to, let's say, around 600 CE, then I feel this will conclusively prove a East Germanic, most likely Gothic, entrance into Bosnia and Herzegovina for his patrilineal line. Even though I'm currently open to the scenario of his patrilineal line entering the region with the Varangians, especially when we take into account that his current terminal subclade dates to around 1045 CE, I don't see any promising leads amongst his STR matches that would help confirm this theory. So all things being equal, albeit speculative, I'm definitely leaning towards a Gothic entrance into the region for my Patreon members' patrilineal forefathers. And hopefully one of these STR leads might conclusively prove that one day in the future, should they upgrade to Big Y700. Thanks for watching.